It's 2 a.m., and you're replaying a conversation from 3 days ago. Not a big conversation, not even a bad one. You just said you too when the barista said enjoy your coffee, and now your brain has decided this is the moment it needs to dissect for the next 45 minutes. Sound familiar? Of course it does, because somewhere along the way, someone told you that overthinking is just caring too much or being thorough, and so you've spent years treating your spiraling mind as a feature instead of what it actually is, a system that's trying to protect you, but using completely the wrong tools for the job. Here's the assumption almost everyone walks around with. If I just think about this a little more, I'll finally land on the right answer, and then the anxious feeling will go away. That feels true, it feels logical, but psychologically, it's almost exactly backwards. Overthinking isn't a thinking problem, it's a certainty problem. Your brain isn't looking for a good decision, it's looking for a guarantee. And guarantees, as much as we love them, don't really exist. So you keep thinking, waiting for a feeling of, yes, this is definitely right, that was never going to arrive no matter how many hours you gave it. Let me show you why this happens, because it's not a character flaw, it's just how your nervous system is wired. Your brain has one job above all others: keep you alive. And for most of human history, that meant scanning constantly for threats. A rustle in the grass might be the wind, it might be a predator. The humans who assumed probably fine and moved on sometimes didn't get to pass on their genes. The ones who paused, replayed the sound, imagined every possible danger, they survived to worry another day. We are, quite literally, descendants of the overthinkers. Your anxious brain isn't broken. It's doing exactly what kept your ancestors alive. The problem is that the modern world replaced tigers with text messages, and your brain hasn't gotten the memo that a slightly awkward reply doesn't require a full threat assessment. Psychologists call one piece of this rumination. That's the technical word for going over the same thought again and again without reaching any new insight. Researchers Susan Nolan Hoeksema spent years studying this and found something almost paradoxical. People who ruminate believe they're problem solving, but the data shows the opposite. Rumination actually narrows your thinking. It doesn't open new solutions, it just deepens the groove you're already stuck in. Like a hiking trail that's been walked so many times, it's turned into a rut you can't climb out of, even though the whole forest is open around you. So here's where most people go wrong when they try to stop overthinking. They try to think their way out of it. They tell themselves, stop worrying, which is a bit like telling a smoke detector to stop beeping while the toast is still burning. You can't reason with an alarm system using more reasoning. That's the same fuel you've been feeding it the whole time. What actually interrupts overthinking isn't a better thought, it's a different relationship to the thought altogether. This is where something called cognitive diffusion comes in, a concept from acceptance and commitment therapy. Instead of trying to argue with the thought or prove it wrong, you take one small step back and simply notice it as a thought. Not, I'm going to fail this, but I'm having the thought that I'm going to fail this. It sounds like a small shift, almost too small to matter, but it changes your position entirely, from being inside the storm to standing at the window watching it. You're no longer wrestling the thought for control, you're just watching it pass, the way you'd watch weather move across a sky you're not actually standing in. And this is the part almost nobody tells you. Overthinking often isn't really about the decision at all. It's about discomfort with uncertainty. Should I send that email? Was that the right career move? Do they secretly think less of me? Underneath all of it is usually one quieter, more vulnerable question. Can I handle it if this doesn't go well? That's the real thing your brain is circling. And the honest, freeing answer, most of the time, is yes. You've survived every hard thing so far. Not because you calculated your way through it perfectly, but because you're more resilient than the anxious voice gives you credit for. So instead of asking, how do I think about this until I feel sure, try asking, what would I do right now if I already trusted myself? That question does something remarkable. It shifts you from an endless internal debate into actual movement. And movement, it turns out, resolves more uncertainty than thinking ever does. You don't figure out if you can swim by studying the water longer. You get in. If there's one thing to take from this, let it be this.
Your overthinking was never proof that something's wrong with you. It's proof that you're someone who cares deeply about getting things right, wrapped in a nervous system that's a few thousand years behind the world you're actually living in. You're not broken, you're just early, a highly sensitive detection system in a world that finally needs a little more trust and a little less analysis. So next time your mind starts circling at 2 a.m. over something small, try just noticing it, naming it, and gently asking yourself what you'd do if you already believed you could handle whatever comes next. And if this made you see your own mind a little differently, tell me about it in the comments. I'd love to know what your brain loves to overthink the most.